cannot move. There's no chaos you can't see through. 'Cause nothing's broken, you can't make new. You are greater, you are greater. So come and break through. There's no mountain you cannot move. There's no chaos you can't see through. Oh, nothing's broken, you can't make new. You are greater, you are greater. So come and break through. Hey! Come and break through. So come and break through. Yeah! Come and break through. Come and break through. So come and break through. So come and break through.
Hey students, welcome. We are so excited that you're here with us for our high school experience. We're gonna have a great time. Our band is ready to lead us in worship, we're gonna hear a challenging message, and we're gonna get some time to connect in our groups. Which reminds me, if you are not currently connected to a group, we have one ready for you. Just text the word students to 72020, and there's a group that is waiting and ready to connect with you and get to know you and just give you some encouragement. If you're watching this live right now, I would love it if you would say what's up in the chat. We have a host who is just ready to answer any questions you might have, or pray for you, or just help you have a great experience. Students, I can't wait, so let's get this thing started. Let's join our experience right now.
Hey students, we got a new song for you. Stand to your feet, sing this with us. You are more than enough, and you are good, and I trust that you are more than enough for me. You're more than enough for me. No matter where I'm going, nowhere ever feels like I've arrived. And I could search the whole world and still miss something, still miss something. 'Cause you can do more with me than I can do all on my own. You're more than all I need, and anything I think I want. We're gonna sing the chorus again right here, everybody. You are more than enough, and you are good, and I trust that you are more than enough for me. You're more than enough for me. Guys, you gotta dance with us. Let's sing. You are more than enough, and you are good, and I trust that you are more than enough for me. You're more than enough for me. You are more than enough, and you are good, and I trust that only you are more than enough for me. You're more than enough for me. Hands up like this. All right, sing it out with us. You are more than enough. You are more than enough. You are more than enough. More than enough. You are more than enough. You are more than enough. You are more than enough. More than enough.
All right, let's keep it going, guys. Hey! Want to hear you sing nice and loud. We know you know this one. Here we go. Everybody sing. I struggled through the garden, following a serpent, tempted, but your love came after me. You gave me what I needed, stole away my secrets. How could I deserve your love for me? Even in my weakness, you are always there. Yes, he is. Sing it loud. I can see your light chasing after me. Sing, you are good to me. I can hear your voice calling out for me. You are good to me. Yeah. So good, so good. Feels good to sing. Come on, let's go. I stumbled through the desert, stranded by my failure, empty, but your love came after me. You gave me what I need. I was broken, not completed. I do not deserve your love for me. Even in my come on, he will never fail. We believe, we sing. I could see your light chasing after me. You are good to me. I can hear your voice calling out for me.
Well, we are so grateful to be meeting once again. It's been incredible after such a long time away. It's been amazing. You know, one thing that we know for sure, that it's so powerful for us to meet together and worship God together, to have community. It's been amazing. You know, these past 5 months, man, that hasn't been the thing at all. It's been quite the opposite. We've been disconnected. Many of us feeling isolated or maybe even a bit lonely. But you know, one thing that we know is through the whole thing, God has continued to work in our lives. He's continued to do so. And I believe this is gonna be a lot of us that look back on this year and see what God taught us during this season as we continue to chase after Him, to follow Him. You know, we asked a bunch of CCV students what God had been teaching them during this season. And here's what we're gonna do right now. We just wanna share what some of you said.
Throughout quarantine, I feel like God was just trying to show me the importance of self-discipline as a Christian. Because there's no other person to make you grow with Him other than yourself. So it's important that we dive into the Word every day and pray to Him so we can grow our relationship with Him. And I feel like that was just really magnified due to the absence of a constant Christian presence like church was.
During this season, God has taught me to be patient with my family and myself.
During this season of life, God has taught me the importance of community and how we can help and build each other up in times of trouble.
One thing God has been teaching me this last season is the importance of focus and the importance of consistency when it comes to knowing, reading, and understanding His Word.
God is teaching me during this time that the unknown is inevitable, and while that is scary, He always has a plan that is for us and not against us. God is also showing me that we should always be thankful even in the midst of a storm.
Quarantine gave me so much free time to pray and connect with God daily. It seemed I didn't really gain much, but I lost a lot of good things continuing to pray, like frustration, anxiety, and fear. God made me realize that sometimes prayer is not gaining, but losing, and that becomes the ultimate gain.
God has showed me in this time that He is consistent. Things are changing almost every single day. Things are popping up every single day, it feels like. But He still remains the same loving Father in heaven.
I believe that during this season of life, God's been teaching me what intentional rest looks like. He's shown me how much peace there is in the quiet and how important it is to be spending time with Him one-on-one.
You make it easy to love you. You are good and you are kind. You bring joy into my life. You make it easy to trust you. You have never left my side. You've been faithful every time. Oh, all I want is you, Jesus. All I want is you. Come on. You are the refuge I run to. You are the fire that leads me through the night. I'll follow you anywhere. There's a million reasons to trust you. Nothing to fear, for you are by my side. I'll follow you anywhere. We sing Jesus. Jesus, you came to my rescue. You took my place upon that cross. You redeemed what I had lost. Now my whole world revolves
God moved more than ever in my life. He opened my eyes and taught me that even when everything else is crumbling, He is so good and He is steadfast.
At this time, this past season, I feel that God has showed me that His word can be related to any problem that goes on in your life, and I feel it is my duty to show others that come into my life or in general that His word can help solve all their problems, especially with what's going on right now.
And God has been teaching me to trust in His timing, and He's just been showing me that His plan is greater than any plan that I could have imagined for myself, and that He knows what's going to happen in the future, and so we don't have to worry about it.
So the number one thing that God taught me over this quarantine is how important quiet time is. I had a lot of weeks where I had nothing on my schedule. So instead of just being bored, I hung out with family, as well as I dove into God's word and learned about His goodness even in crazy times.
Thanks for singing with us tonight. You guys can have a seat.
Look around. This world is not as it ought to be. Division, disease, discrimination, things are not okay. But this is not how it was intended, and God was not okay with it. He had to make a way back from darkness to light, from death to life. So he dropped a man into this atmosphere, like an explosion of hope, and like a billion fireworks lighting up the darkest night. He revealed the better way, the best way, the only way to truly live. He came to revive a dying world and divided cultures, to revive despairing hearts and desperate lives, to revive us all. Things are not okay. We need revival.
Hey, I am not. I repeat, I am not a good sick person. In fact, I am a pathetic sick person. Whenever my throat gets a little bit scratchy, whenever my head starts to hurt, my nose starts to run, whenever my body shifts from being okay to not okay, it's more than a physical problem to me. Somehow there's this internal switch inside of Jared that just flips, and I revert back to the 3-year-old version of myself who just can't cope with life. You know, I'm really just pretty helpless. It almost takes an impossible feat of strength for me to reach out from under the covers, grab the remote, and remind Netflix, yes, I am still watching episodes of The Office. Now, my wife reminded me recently that this is a condition. It's known as a man cold. Guys, have you heard of this? The man cold? If you haven't heard of it before, guys, I know you feel very tough because you can bench press 300 pounds, which 300 pounds bench press, that's impressive. But listen, if you get a man cold, odds are you will be on the couch for a time period of somewhere between 2 and 12 days. Ladies, though, this is so interesting. This is so interesting. You guys are incredible creatures. When you get a cold, it's as if, at least in my experience, maybe you sleep in a few extra hours, maybe you take a nap, maybe you take a couple Tylenol, but next thing you know, ladies, you will be back on your feet, you will be grinding through your day. Nothing is gonna stop you from firing off a brand new TikTok video, even if you're hurting kind of like the girl in this video. You've seen this video? It's true, kind of in a weird sense. But girls, you're awesome. The reality is we all have things in our life that just aren't okay. And maybe it's a silly thing, kind of like, I suck at getting sick. But the reality is we all deal with things that go way beyond that, don't we? The reality is that for some of you watching right now, what's not okay in your life is the fact that every day you wake up with anxiety. For some of you, it's that you've experienced loss. You've lost a loved one, a friend, and had to deal with the pain that comes with that. Some of us live in the midst of constant family drama. Some of us are angry. Some of us feel alone. Some of us struggle with a habit that we just can't kick. Some of us, it's just already completely overwhelming that we have to be online for school. Many of us, our sport has been canceled, and then there's a group of us watching online or on a campus, and you're a senior. And this was supposed to be the year. This was supposed to be the season. And it's just not okay. We all deal with things in our life that are not okay. And I want to remind you something Mark Moore said last week. It's so true. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay. In fact, the church should be a place where people can just raise their hand and say, you know what, I'm not okay. But the big idea of tonight goes like this. It's not okay to stay that way. It's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. Why? Why is it not okay to stay that way? Well, there's only one reason. It's because Jesus is real. And Jesus revives. Jesus is the answer to the biggest thing in your life that is not okay. And that's exactly what we're going to discover. As we read from John chapter 5 tonight, Jesus is going to encounter a man who is simply not okay. And watch what Jesus does in his life. Why don't you read with me John chapter 5, starting in verse 1. It goes like this. After these things, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now, there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porticos, big columns. In these lay a multitude of those who were sick, blind, lame, and withered, waiting for the moving of the waters. Sounds weird. Keep reading. For an angel of the Lord went down at certain seasons into the pool and stirred up the water. Whoever then first, after the stirring of the water, stepped in was made well from whatever disease with which he was afflicted. Interesting. I'll talk about that here in a minute. A man was there who had been ill for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had already been a long time in that condition, he said to him, "Do you wish to get well?" The sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water is stirred. But while I'm coming, another steps down before me." Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your pallet, and walk." And immediately the man became well, picked up his pallet, and began to walk. Now, this is a remarkable story. And I know when we read stories like this, it's easy to just fly by them and be like, hey, look, Jesus healed another person. Cool. But let's slow down a little bit. There's this huge city of Jerusalem. There's a feast going on. There's a festival. There's all kinds of people who have poured into town. Jerusalem is literally like overflowing. All right, then you've got this pool party happening. All these sick people are gathered by the pool. And then you've got this weird like angel coming down from heaven thing happening. Then Jesus is in the crowd and Jesus heals the guy. There's a lot going on, and I want you to hear a few things from this story. And as I read the story, three things jumped out at me from this story. And what I've been praying for you is just that at least one of these three things that jumped out at me would jump out at you. So here's the first observation I had. While the sick were looking for a miracle in the water, they missed the miracle maker standing among them. Have you ever missed something significant going on because you were distracted by something silly? I was reading a book recently, and the author is describing this opportunity he got to go and see in person the painting The Mona Lisa. Like probably one of the most significant pieces of art in human history. It's a big deal to get to go see this picture. And he describes this experience as he finally, like the curtains open and he sees the painting and he's in this crowd of people. And it was odd to him because he's looking at the picture and everybody else is just snapping pictures. And it just like, it rubbed him the wrong way because here, right in front of them, in real life, the most significant piece of art maybe in the world, and everybody else is just content to just look at it through their camera. They missed the significant for something kind of silly. That's the way I kind of frame this story at the pool of Bethsaida. You got all these people gathered around the pool, and they're looking at the water because they've heard a rumor that once upon a time an angel came down, stirred up the water, somebody fell in, and they were healed. And the best we can tell is just a rumor. It wasn't a repetitive thing. It's probably just a legend. But nonetheless, all these people gather every day, look at the water. Why do they do this? Because they're desperate. And desperate people do desperate things. You know, if you've really got something going on in your life that's not okay, and you've got a chance that maybe it could not have to stay that way, I mean, you'll do a lot of different things, even if it means looking at water all day. And you and I are really no different. When things are not okay in our lives, we'll look to all kinds of things for answers. Some of us will look to relationships. Others will look to our own achievements. We'll look to how we do academically or athletically. Some of us, you know, we're gonna look at our jobs and our finances to get us through, or we're gonna look to a political platform because there's gotta be answers there. But listen, I'm afraid that if we continue looking to these kinds of things to fill the deepest needs in our life, then we'll fall victim to the same thing that all those people at the pool suffered from that day. They're looking at something insignificant. And they're missing the miracle maker right there in their midst. Jesus is among us. Would you see him if he was? Do you notice him? Or do you miss him? Here's my big question that goes along with this observation. When things aren't okay in your life, who or what do you look to for answers? Next observation that jumps out at me from this story. Jesus only healed one sick person from the crowd. Which is interesting because it's not like Jesus didn't have options. I mean, there's probably dozens of people scattered around. It could have been very easy for Jesus to just set up shop and start performing miracle after miracle after miracle. I mean, he could have blown up TikTok, right? But no, he makes his way through the crowd and he stops at one person, one man, one miracle, which just begs the question, why this guy? Why him? And I think John, the person who recorded this, gives us a really helpful clue in verse 5 when he describes this man's condition, that he had been this way for how long? 38 years. I did the math, that's 13,870 days unwell. And it's not just a physical problem for this guy. It goes way beyond that, because in this culture, this is an old man. I mean, people didn't live that long in Jesus' day. And then on top of that, he's sick, and I don't know exactly what the illness was, but it appears like he can't walk. And in this culture, you're in this condition, you're completely outcast from society. You're put on the fringes. You're labeled as unworthy, unwanted. 38 years. It's a long time to not be okay. And Jesus stops for him. And I think some of you can relate with this man in the story, because for a long time now, you've been facing something that feels crippling. And maybe for you it's a physical thing. More than likely, it's way beyond a physical thing for you. It's something from your past, something negative that has defined you, that has weighed you down. Something that you wake up with, you just feel the pressure. You've yet to escape it. Something happened in a relationship a long time ago. Somebody did something to you. Somebody wasn't there for you. Someone left you. And you can't get out from underneath it. So, can you relate to the guy who feels unworthy, unwanted, not okay? I think Jesus wants you to know that he sees you. Why this guy? I don't know exactly. All I know is it appears to be a massive statement of Jesus saying, you're not forgotten. I see you. I haven't missed you. You're not overlooked. You're not unworthy. In a crowd of people, I still see you. And I have answers if you'll trust me. You're not unworthy. No, I think Jesus says you're worth dying for. Will you trust me? My question for you from this observation goes like this. Is there something negative from your past that continues to define you? What is it? What is it? Last observation, number 3. Before Jesus healed the man, he asked him if he wanted to get well, which is just strange. So again, if you go back to the pool, all the people sitting around just watching the water, it also feels kind of like they're at the movies. You remember going to the movies? You know those places, big buildings we used to go to with our friends, drink deathly amounts of soda, eat from big buckets of popcorn. It was really fun, right? I missed those. It's like Jesus is eating popcorn with this guy. Everybody's just watching the water. And then out of nowhere, Jesus is like, hey man, do you want to get well? Who even asked that kind of question? Especially it's Jesus. He knows the guy's been sick for 38 years. What's he thinking? I think Jesus is way smarter than all of us. I think he was probably just being very strategic with this question. I wonder if Jesus was just trying to test this guy to find out what was inside of him. And bingo, he finds out really quickly. He asks the dude, do you want to get well? And let me read for you one more time the man's response. In verse 7, Jesus says, do you want to get well? Sick man answered, "Sir, I have no man to put me into the pool when the water's stirred up. But while I'm coming, another steps down before me." Did you notice? Notice his first response wasn't like, "Really? I can be well? You got an answer for me? Let's go." No. What's his response? Excuses. I can't. Nobody will help. It's impossible. Students, I want you to hear really clearly tonight that there's a direct correlation between our faith and our excuses. Where our excuses increase, our faith decreases. Students, so often it's our excuses that keep us from a vibrant faith. It's our excuses that chain us to our sin. It's our excuses that limit our potential. It's our excuses that keep us from becoming the Christ-centered difference makers that Jesus is calling us to be. What do our excuses look like today? I wrote some down. I've made too many mistakes, so God can't use me. The temptation is just too strong. I don't come from a family of faith. I'm too tired to read my Bible in the morning. And by the way, it's a really old book and it's confusing. Hey, most of my friends won't be there on Sunday night, so I won't be able to make it. I've got to work Sunday night. If I talk about Jesus openly, somebody will probably be offended. I've got anxiety about being baptized. The sermon isn't deep enough. And serving, well, that's just too big of a commitment. Students, I don't know what your excuse is. I can't. Nobody will. It's impossible. But I do know this. If you want to grow in your faith, you'll have to deal with your excuses. So my last question is pretty simple. What's your excuse for not growing in your faith? What's your excuse? As I wrap up tonight, I just want to run through those 3 questions. They're coming up on the screen. Just look at them. Which one jumps out at you? I want to remind you, it's okay to not be okay. It is not okay to stay that way. Why? Because the miracle maker is real and he's among us. All we have to do is look to him. It's okay to have a painful past. It is not okay to be content with a hopeless future. I know you have excuses. I've made excuses, but listen, it's not okay to continue excusing your excuses. I think Jesus would ask us the same question he asked the man that day at the pool. Do you want to get well? Like, really? Do you? That man who was healed that day in John chapter 5, 38 years, 13,870 days. Not okay. How much longer are you going to stay that way? The miracle maker is here. And listen to me. You are far too valuable in his eyes to stay not okay. You are far too important to this church. You are far too meaningful to this world. Through Christ, impossible things become possible. It's okay to not be okay. It is not okay to stay that way. So students, as the band on all of our campuses is going to close us in this song, it's so thematic to what we've been talking about the past couple weeks. I just want to ask you, just stay in your seat wherever you're at on every campus. And during this song, I just want you to put into your mind just all the distractions, the person on your right or left or online, wherever you're watching at home. Drown out the distractions and listen. What's not okay in your life? Are you ready to trust Jesus and let him deal with and perform the miracle, the revival that you so desperately need?
Be broken, then how would I know what it feels like to be whole? If I didn't know what it cuts like to be rejected, then how would I know the joy of coming home? Maybe it's okay that I'm not okay, 'cause the one who holds the world is holding on to me. Maybe it's alright if I'm not alright, 'cause the one who holds the stars is holding on to my whole life. And didn't know what it looks like to be dirty. Would I know what it feels like to be clean? If all of my shame hadn't drawn me to hide in the shadows, then how would I know the meaning being free? Oh, maybe it's okay that I'm not
Students, thanks again for joining us today, and I hope that something from this experience challenged you or really impacted you in some way. I'd love it if you'd leave a comment and let us know what that was, like what really spoke to you today. If you want to stay up on everything that's going on around here and never miss an update, follow us on Instagram. It's one of the quickest ways to get information about what's going on. And again, if you're not connected with a group already, we believe there is no greater place to really experience life change and to just be challenged and encouraged than in a group. So text the word students to 72020 and we'll get you connected really quickly. Students, we'll be here again on Sunday night at 5 o'clock, so make sure you tune in. And if you have the opportunity, we'd love to see you live on any one of our campuses across the valley. If you've never been before, you're not sure where that is, you can find all the locations and the one that's closest to you at our website at ccv.church. Students, thanks again for joining us, and we can't wait to see you again next week.